Kizaru from One Piece has to be one of my favorite light users in all of anime. But you know, naming this video What If Naruto Ate the Pika Pika no Mi wasn't exactly in the cards, so I titled it What If Naruto Had a Light Kekkei Genkai, and now you're here. So enjoy watching Naruto become a badass like Sting, Escanor, Lich, and of course, Kizaru. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor and hit the like button for the algorithm and enjoy. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so before we begin today's video, I quickly want to say two things. Number one, this video was not made by me in the sense that the script isn't, right? The story isn't. It was actually written by Xehther. You can find his link down below in my pinned comment, which I am going to be taking attendance. So for those of you guys that want to comment that, don't. We don't need 500 different people commenting, taking attendance. 2 or 3 tops. Anyways, point is, yeah, this video was not written by me, and it was written by him because of the simple fact that I ended up opening a little Google Doc, that's the word I'm looking for recently, that you guys can pretty much submit your what if ideas to. Not just a simple plain text. I mean, you could also just do that, but if you want your idea to most likely be made and you have like a cool plot story and thread or idea, then you can go down there and type it all up and let me know exactly what it is that you want in the story and stuff like that. But this dude proceeded to write me an entire script, which I am so unbelievably thankful for. So you already know I had to make this video into a reality. And so, What If Naruto Had a Light Kekkei Genkai was born. Once again, this story was made completely by Xehther, and I'm going to be implementing a couple of changes here or there if it's something that I necessarily don't agree with, or if it's something that just needs to be changed for plot. That said, let's begin. Okay, so for this specific story, I'm not really too sure what the content is as to how Naruto gets his powers, but from what I can sort of understand is he wants to use the Greek mythos like the Zeus and like Poseidon and all that stuff, that kind of mythos, to pretty much be the reason that Naruto gets his light powers. And Apollo is going to be a god in Olympus that pretty much decides that the mortals down below, you know, obviously in the Naruto verse, they need a son. Someone who's bright. So Apollo would essentially end up finding the brightest man, which in this case would be Minato, and he would decide that his son would be the new sun. That's kind of a tongue twister. Anyways, on the day of the Ninetails attack, things are going to be going a lot differently, and 3 major things are going to be changing. Number 1, which is pretty much just kind of an aura farm moment for Naruto, or baby Naruto if you want to get more specific. The moment that Naruto is born, he is going to be exuding such a bright light that Hiruzen's wife would literally go blind because she was the one that delivered the baby. And so Naruto would have literally ended up leaving such a bright light in the room that Kushina had to cover her eyes, Minato had to cover his eyes, and Obito himself had to cover his own eye from how bright Naruto's abilities were, because at this moment Naruto had absolutely no way of controlling his powers, considering the fact that he is literally just been born. And so what would end up taking place is that Obito, still like in the original, would end up pretty much kidnapping Naruto, Minato saves him, and ultimately we would get the situation with Minato and Kushina dying. After this would take place, what's very, very interesting is that baby Naruto, through some strange attack that we're not going to be making obvious what happens on this night, but a bright light would end up ultimately engulfing the area where Minato, Kushina, and Kurama, as well as Naruto, are at. And as both of his parents are skewered on the Ninetails fox snail, Naruto would let out a cry like no other, as a bright light would engulf the area, and Minato, Kushina, and the Ninetails bodies would be completely gone, eradicated from existence. But what's interesting is that Kurama is not exactly dead, because remember, he's a being composed of entirely chakra. So Kurama is going to come back, but it's just going to take him a long time to reform. That said, after this would take place, just like in the original, Hiruzen would end up arriving to find a young baby Naruto, and he would pretty much end up deciding that he's going to take him under his care. However, one thing of note is that when Hiruzen arrived, he ended up seeing a massive amount of light go off, and suddenly the Ninetails was gone. That has nothing to do with the summoning jutsu, nothing to do with anything else, so the confusion in his eyes would be very apparent. But what's interesting is once he gets closer to baby Naruto, and he removes the blanket that was covering him, he would see that Naruto was exuding light. Light itself was coming off of the baby. So Hiruzen thought, could that have been the doing of Naruto? he quickly scratched that thought out of his head because there's no way. I mean, he's an infant, right? Babies don't just kill nine-tailed foxes. That's unheard of. It's ludicrous. And so we would pretty much get a section of the story in which Hiruzen and the council would pretty much end up discussing what to do with Naruto. Now, for this section of the video, the author of this story ended up pretty much saying that Naruto was going to be adopted by the Hyuga clan because they claim to be, a light clan or whatever it is that, his reasoning was. But I think a much more interesting path would be that essentially Danzo would bring up the fact that because they're unaware of what exactly happened to the Jinchuriki, they're pretty much going under the assumption that it's sealed in him. But that's just them assuming it, considering that they don't see any sealing tag, anything. So at this point now, they're kind of just like saying that he's the Jinchuriki because if they don't, then they're cooked. The other villages are going to be wanting to attack them just based on the fact that they don't have their nuclear weapon available for them to fight back against the other villages. And so they would end up pretty much saying that Naruto needs to be trained, or the Jinchuriki or the Ninetails, if it's even part of Naruto, should be passed on to someone else who could actually use it. It would be at this point that Hiruzen would say that they're not doing that because this is Minato's child. And so everybody would kind of go silent, as Hyuga, one of the members of the council for this specific timeline, is essentially going to be speaking up, saying that if what he needs is training, then his clan will be happy to train him with all of his abilities. And we would pretty much see Hiruzen look at Hiyashi and nod, understanding that that's a good idea. Danzo would speak up saying that he could train the boy, but Hiruzen would say that he has too many duties and things to take care of and there's no way that he could. But an entire clan, that would be perfect for Naruto. That way he could be protected as a Jinchuriki and trained as a Jinchuriki. It's perfect. They would also mention that the Uchiha, there's no way that they could take him because of the fact that, there's rumors that Sharingan Eye was seen in the Ninetails' eye, so they have absolutely no trust for the Uchiha clan at this point. That said, all of this disposition gone out of the wind, we're now going to be having a little bit of a time skip to where Naruto is now having a training session with Neji, and they're both fighting against each other using the gentle fist style, or what Naruto uses, which is a very, very different fighting style to the gentle fist, in the sense that it doesn't implement chakra points, but it's still very efficient and effective, considering that Naruto doesn't exactly have a Byakugan. That said though, Neji would throw a kick at Naruto, sending him back as he would crash onto the ground, and Naruto, looking back up at Neji, would see that he was rushing forward to try to actually, attack him once more. Naruto, seeing that he was already 2 feet away, would kick forward, kind of like when your sibling is trying to keep you away from them and they just start kicking. Naruto would do that, but one fell kick, and mind you, Neji's still 2 feet away, but this kick would connect. A light speed kick, a light attack, would actually end up connecting on Neji, as Neji would be sent crashing out of the building, knocked out and unconscious. And Hiyashi, seeing this, would be absolutely stunned and scared of what the heck Naruto just did. Events like this would happen all over the place after this following day, and Hiyashi, seeing that Naruto was growing stronger and stronger and stronger, and he wasn't subservient to the clan, in the sense that if he tried to put one of those Hyuga markings on his forehead, it didn't work. Naruto's light abilities essentially ended up melting it off. So this applies to anything like a curse mark, this applies to one of those little seals, this applies to literally if they were to try to make him a Jinchuriki and have that sealing jutsu, that would get burnt off by the light that Naruto exudes. He's that openly busted at this young age. But that being said, as Naruto grows stronger and stronger, Hiyashi's weariness of Naruto would grow more and more by the day. This would essentially end up leading him to kicking Naruto out onto the streets, thinking of Naruto as a literal threat. And so as this ends up happening, we would essentially get a couple of scenes in which Naruto, over the next couple of months, would essentially have to steal food in order to even survive. And we all know that if Naruto was to go walking around the village and, trying to see if he could have food or buy food, the villagers were going to either tell him to get lost because he's the demon fox in everyone's eyes, thanks to the rumor that is still going to be spread by Danzo in this timeline, and or if they even do sell him something, they're going to sell it to him at an astronomically high cost for absolutely no reason, just to be ops to him. So during this time period, Naruto ends up essentially becoming a thief, Think Bon from Seven Deadly Sins, how he had to steal food just to survive. But unlike Bon, he's not exactly going to be having a mentor that's going to be teaching him all these things. That said, that's kind of an interesting way to put it. So he gets adopted by the Hyuga, and then he's just going to get kicked out and learn how to essentially be sneaky, which is really interesting considering that Naruto has light speed, and he's going to literally be sitting here stealing food at literal light speed. That's comical almost. Anyways, that being said, eventually a day would come where Naruto would be caught by Danzo. And Danzo, let's see what he does. Danzo, being the snake that he is, would manipulate Naruto into becoming an Anbu agent. That's an interesting way to go about things. So Naruto goes from Hyuga clan to learning by his own, and then to being trained to become an Anbu agent. I guess Danzo ends up getting what he wants. That's pretty sick. I like it. Okay, so during this time period, Naruto's going to be learning new abilities. What are these abilities? I don't know yet, because I'm reading the script just as much as you guys are. And as this is all happening, I can easily see Naruto growing a lot more powerful under the care of Naruto, and essentially becoming a cold-blooded killing machine. Just because it's one of those things where it's like, you've seen those clips of Danzo training Sai. He beats emotions out of them, tells them that it's the mission over anything else, and his methods are just dark. And you would pretty much just see this Naruto become a cold-blooded killer at a very young age, as Naruto would be mind-controlled by Danzo, who essentially treats him a lot better than the rest of the Anbu members, but he would still end up treating Naruto kind of badly, if you get what I mean. Even though this life would be dark for Naruto, I can still see him having some sense of joy because of the fact that he's wanted. And if you guys remember this, Naruto is a literal child. He was kicked out in his eyes because he wasn't wanted, but now he's needed. And Naruto kind of enjoys this a lot. This would be something that Danzo would use to manipulate Naruto and use him like his own little pawn. He would carry out a ton of Anbu missions for him, but as years would pass, eventually Hiruzen, who, a horrible Kage as he is, would finally end up learning of what Danzo's been doing and the fact that Naruto has actually been working for the root Anbu. This would end up essentially leading Hiruzen to being like, absolutely not, and ripping Naruto away from Danzo, as well as telling him that if he ever pulls something like this underneath his nose, he will be banished from the village and pretty much titled as a rogue ninja or killed. Let's just say that's better. Banished, like what is this, Madagascar? But no, yeah, after this ends up happening, I could see Hiruzen essentially having a heart-to-heart with Naruto, and the conversation that ends up taking place here would be sort of along the lines of asking Naruto how he's been over the course of these years, what missions have been like being with Danzo, and what Danzo was ultimately doing to him. Naruto would end up telling him a lot of things, what happened with the Hyuga clan. This would make Hiruzen upset, pretty much talking to Hiyashi about this, but with Hiruzen understanding the kind of person that Naruto was becoming, he would end up feeling like he had failed Naruto, and so he would end up wanting to give Naruto some semblance of hope, some reason to feel joy. So the third Hokage would end up essentially telling him legends about a man known as the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Naruto would ask why he's telling him so many stories about this great man, and Hiruzen would end up ultimately spilling the beans, telling him that that's his father. Naruto would have a huge moment of silence after hearing that, and you would think Hiruzen would think, but he doesn't. Because in Hiruzen's mind, he thought that telling him this would reinvigorate Naruto to try to become a ninja, to try to become a better person, to live up to his father's, reputation. But this has a complete 180 effect on Naruto, in the sense that hearing all this, Naruto just gets royally pissed, understanding that he is literally royalty, and the village has treated him like garbage. He would be pissed knowing that he literally had to steal from people just to survive. He was on the streets sleeping cold for many days, and there was times where he was so dirty that he couldn't even sleep from the stench of his own body. Like, does Hiruzen or anybody else even know how that feels? It sucks. It's horrible. After this would take place, An awkward silence would fill the room, and Hiruzen would ultimately end up asking Naruto if he could show him just how strong he's gotten over the years. Naruto, after hearing this and feeling like he needs to blow off some steam, would end up pretty much just telling Hiruzen that he wouldn't mind showing him, asking him if he wants to fight him. Hiruzen at this point would laugh at him, telling him that he's way too old to fight Naruto, knowing that in reality it just wouldn't be a fun fight for him, or so he would think, as he would essentially end up calling over one of his most trusted ninjas in the village, calling Kakashi Hatake, who would come over and have a light sparring match with Naruto. And so the fight would begin. Naruto would start the battle off by pretty much lowering Kakashi's expectations of him just enough to catch Kakashi off guard. Kakashi, seeing Naruto facing off against him and using all of these skills, would be very impressed at Naruto because, mind you, he's still not even at the age of being a genin yet, and Naruto's already displaying these incredible abilities and fighting Kakashi in a state where it's honestly a pretty entertaining battle. All things considered, Naruto's small size and stature would actually help him in this fight, making it a lot harder for Kakashi to predict and counter his attacks, seeing as he has to get in a very low center of gravity. That said, Kakashi would smile, thinking that Minato would be extremely proud, and so we would essentially get a moment in which, as Kakashi's dodging these abilities and stuff like that, thinking about how strong Naruto really is, suddenly Naruto would go in to throw a light speed kick which Kakashi couldn't even register, and it would literally rumble his brain in his head. At this point, Naruto would actually rush in at Kakashi, going for a murder blow, trying to kill Kakashi, having the lesson of kill your enemy once their guard is low. Naruto would go in to land this ultimate killing blow that, mind you, if it landed, it straight up would have killed Kakashi. Naruto would have essentially ended up tapping into an ability that he's learned, which is a light slash, where he pretty much turns his hand into a literal blade. Think Zamasu from Dragon Ball Z. That said, he would go in for this slash, and Kakashi, activating his Sharingan and having so much combat experience, would barely, and I really do mean barely, dodge this attack. It's to the point where Kakashi's eye would actually feel the heat coming off of Naruto's slash, and seeing this happen, Kakashi would have to close his good eye, as that eye's pretty much out of commission for a week at bare minimum, as he would unveil his Sharingan, jumping back, and in an instant you would pretty much see Naruto there and then gone. Naruto would now reappear in front of Kakashi, who'd be stunned, and a light kick would connect, causing Kakashi to be sent crashing into a tree, as Naruto, rushing in towards the direction of Kakashi, would begin to go on the offensive and just absolutely try to kill Kakashi. Like, there's no other way to put it. Naruto was going in for blood. And all the while this was happening, you would pretty much just see Hiruzen watching all this, mouth agape, as he would think to himself that while Naruto's strong, he's failed Minato. Naruto has become a cold-blooded killer with no concept of the word sparring or mercy, realizing that Naruto fully intends to kill Kakashi. Luckily though, all of Kakashi's battle experience and the fact that Naruto isn't as experienced in terms of, combat prowess, because he's gone on multiple missions, don't get me wrong, but he's never had a face-off against somebody the likes of Kakashi, and Kakashi has had to face opponents much stronger than him a lot of times. So Kakashi, knowing just how fast Minato is and having been a student, learning to react to people who can seemingly teleport, would not let his guard down, and he would proceed to be able to humble Naruto by defeating him in a very tactical manner, being able to grab onto Naruto and slam him on the ground, holding him by his arms and legs in a position that pretty much pins him down. At this point, Naruto would say, "Let me go! Come on, we're not done fighting, let me go, damn it!" And Kakashi would simply hold him still, saying, "It was a spar. You took things too far." As at this point, Hiruzen would come towards and tell Kakashi to let him go. Kakashi would do so, staring at Naruto, telling him that he's strong for a 10-year-old. And at this point, Naruto would kind of wipe the blood off of his mouth as he would say, "Yeah, you're pretty strong for an old man yourself." As from here, you'd pretty much just get Hiruzen, dismiss Kakashi and trying to talk to Naruto, telling him that from now on, he's not gonna be, fighting with those kinds of tactics, especially since he's gonna be putting him in the academy pretty soon. At least, in a little bit of time after Naruto learns to not be a cold-blooded maniac. That said, we're going to be having a little bit of an intermission here where Apollo, the character he created, I think, I'm not too sure, would essentially ended up being confronted by Zeus. And essentially, the conversation would pretty much just be about why in the world Apollo pretty much created a demigod. And Apollo, not exactly understanding why he's bothered so much by this kid, would end up pretty much just telling Zeus to watch the show. After that intermission would finally be over, we would pretty much see Naruto return to the academy, with everybody staring at him like he's some kind of weirdo, like he's a freak. Naruto being used to these stares would give them a glare back that sends shivers down their spines, because Naruto has bloodlust. You guys remember what Orochimaru did to the people in the forest? Yeah, he did that to them, and for some reason, they couldn't explain it, but they just felt like if they messed with Naruto, they would get hurt, or worse, die. Because when Naruto walked in the room, everything just felt different. Everyone's seen Naruto, they know about him because their parents have told them, oh, don't talk to that kid, don't mess with him. And a long time ago, a couple of them could have sworn that they recognized him as that homeless kid, but they couldn't exactly put their finger on it. Naruto walking in, it was almost like time was moving different. Everything was slowing down, like the sun just got closer. And as Iruka would see Naruto walk inside, he would even pause himself, not understanding why he feels a tremble when he looks at Naruto. Ultimately though, after Naruto would essentially glare at everybody and essentially take a seat, Iruka would take his attendance say Naruto Uzumaki, as Naruto would pretty much say present, sitting alone all the way at the top of the class. Not because he wants to, but because literally nobody wants to be near him. At this point, Naruto would look around at the classroom, hearing a bunch of whispers, with the gist of it essentially being that some saying that he's too quiet, some saying that I heard he glows at night. Yeah, I've seen him talk to the sky before, I don't know what his deal is. And some of them pretty much calling him a weirdo, a freak, and a demon, a fox, or a bunch of different things. Naruto hearing this would not pay attention to any of this, considering that he's been through a lot worse, and his Anbu missions have essentially taught him to not really care too much about what people say. One person though would be staring at Naruto, hiding behind her hair, as it would obviously be Hinata, who in all the time that she's known Naruto, she's always been curious about him, not sure if he's a boy or light itself in disguise, always being drawn to him but never having the guts to get close because for some reason he just feels so unattainable. Sasuke as well would also glance over, but he would not be impressed with Naruto, not exactly knowing his capabilities yet, and just kind of trying to ignore Naruto. At this point, Naruto would pretty much just be waiting for the wrong look on some prison type timing, you know what I mean? But that being said, we would essentially end up having days begin to pass as Naruto would essentially be a very mysterious kid in the classroom. Not like, you know, us when we try to be dark and mysterious, but like an actual main character. Naruto would not exactly talk much and people would wonder what's up with him. But Naruto just kind of sits back and observes. The teachers pretend he's normal, or specifically Iruka, knowing that there's nothing normal about that kid, especially considering the weird things that happen whenever he's around and all the crazy feats that Naruto's already accomplished. For some reason, it seems like whenever Naruto starts focusing too hard, the room gets literally hot. It's like Naruto is the sun itself. It's strange, it's confusing. One time even, during kunai practice, the kunai that Naruto would have thrown at the target would have literally melted mid-air, and other crazy things like that. Naruto's just an anomaly, a freak. This dude is pretty much Miles Morales. But anyways, as time would pass and Naruto's weird crazy feats would start piling up and people would start to realize that Naruto is very, very strong, Sasuke would start feeling personally attacked just by Naruto's presence alone. Because at the end of the day, Sasuke has main character syndrome and he feels like this was his story. He's the last Uchiha, but all of a sudden here comes some quiet kid who moves like he's some sort of god and doesn't talk to anybody. This leads to Sasuke essentially brewing over with anger over the course of the next couple of months, as by the time that they're 11, Sasuke's anger boils over and he essentially snaps, challenging Naruto to a ninjutsu duel after Naruto would outdo him in one of the events that Iruka would have set up for them. With that being the case, the class would end up gathering the next day after school, and the teachers, being completely unable to stop this fight seeing as they catch wind of it way too late, would end up pretty much arriving just as the battle would end. Sasuke would coat his fists in fire, not exactly sure where he learned this in this timeline, but he does, and Sasuke would rush in at such quick speeds that nobody could even stop him. All the girls would be watching in anticipation, cheering for Sasuke, with Sakura being the loudest, saying, "Sasuke, knock his lights out!" As it's kind of ironic that she would say that, with Naruto just standing there, not moving a single inch. At least, not at first, but when he does move, it's over in a flash. Because the second that Naruto would react, Sasuke would hit the ground 5 feet away, being sent flying away, with no one even seeing what had happened, just seeing a little bright light appear suddenly and just disappear. Naruto, not even breaking a sweat, would just look at Sasuke and say, "You're too slow." But Sasuke, being completely unconscious, couldn't even hear Naruto over here aura farming. But one thing's for sure, ever since that day, no one, and I mean no one, has challenged him again. Even Iruka watches the tone that he speaks to Naruto with, which is actually kind of crazy. And another thing worthy of note would be the fact that the whispers that used to be there, very loud, being, kind of strange, talking about how weird he is, would turn to complete fear, with people saying, "Is he even human? What if he's a cursed child? Who is he? What was that attack? He's a freak. He's a monster." Weird random things like that would be going out throughout the class, and honestly, bro, I'm not gonna lie, this got kind of cooked with like the little whispering section. That's pretty sick. I like it. That said, eventually the time for their graduation would come around, and Naruto this time actually being able to create a shadow clone would not even need to have Mitsuki trick him, but Mitsuki wouldn't even be able to do so in the first place, and if Naruto's not the one going after the scroll, then there's no way that anybody else is going to be able to do it, because in the original, Naruto only really pulled it off because of the sexy jutsu. That said, we're not going to cover the Mitsuki arc, and we essentially just skip forward to Kakashi entering the classroom and seeing his new team. Team 7. Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata. That's interesting. I didn't see that coming. Hinata, instead of growing up to idolize Naruto, she now fears and hates him. What? What do you mean she okay. Okay. Fair enough. Hinata, instead of growing up to idolize Naruto, she now fears and hates him, due to Neji manipulating her because of the light speed kick that he still fears. That's wild, but I'm gonna let bro cook. Anyways, after this would happen, we pretty much end up getting a scene of Hinata staring at Naruto, not really knowing how to feel, because in one sense, she doesn't like him and she's scared of him, but she can't help but feel somewhat mystified by him. She can't even explain it, she can't put her finger on it. That said, Kakashi would still end up asking the trio for their goals, and Hinata would pretty much want to be a strong Kunoichi, Sasuke would go for revenge, and Naruto would say that he wants to be the strongest person that's ever lived. And Kakashi would actually think to himself that that's not even a ludicrous goal for Naruto, as we would essentially skip forward to the time of the bell test, with Naruto, grinning, trying to pretty much show off to everybody just how fast he truly is. He would speed blitz towards the direction of Kakashi, trying to take the bells instantly, but Kakashi, having trained with Naruto for years now, would not be surprised by Naruto's plan and would easily counter Naruto by predicting Naruto's movements, having a very good profile on how Naruto fights. He would easily hit Naruto in the stomach with his fist, as he would slow Naruto's momentum, and as Naruto would be on the floor, Kakashi would make it clear to Naruto that if he plans on winning this, then he has to use his brain. Naruto at this point would get some space between the both of them, as he would question what he means by this, thinking to himself that Kakashi himself should know that in a one-on-one fight, Naruto's chances of beating him are probably 9 out of 10 if he really takes things seriously, which causes Naruto to question this. He would then think about this, ponder this, as Sasuke would rush in, bombarding Kakashi with fireballs, but Sasuke would quickly be made a fool of. After this, Hinata would go in, trying to use the gentle fist style on Kakashi, who would actually end up landing one blow, causing one of Kakashi's arms to go limp, but Kakashi would place her in a genjutsu quickly, as Naruto would blitz in at the speed of light as Hinata was about to hit the floor, catching her and saving her. As Naruto would snap her out of the genjutsu, he would then turn to Sasuke, as Hinata, waking up seeing Naruto's face in front of her, would question why he saved her. as it'd be at this point that Sasuke would then be trapped inside of a hole after his confrontation with Kakashi, and Naruto would get him out of it. But strangely enough, Sasuke would just yell at Naruto saying, "I don't need your help," proceeding to just ignore him, with Hinata just shyly looking away, doing the same, not in as much of an aggressive way, but she still does that. And Naruto seeing this would kind of just scoff under his breath, going, "These two idiots aren't going to even get close to touching the bells. Kakashi's been fighting against me for years, and now he's way stronger than he ever would have been before. Kakashi's used to light speed attacks, and Hinata landing that attack on him was only because he put his guard down and was reading that dumb book of his. These two are never going to get the bells. I guess I'm going to have to do it by myself." As Naruto would have rushed in, blitzing Kakashi, who would say, "You won't win this way, Naruto." And Naruto would be shocked considering the fact that this dude was like a millisecond away from grabbing the bells. He would quickly create some space between himself and Kakashi as he would ask him what he means by this, with Kakashi telling him that if he has to spell it out for him, then he's not worthy of becoming a shinobi. Naruto at this point would think about this as he would stop moving and rush towards the direction of Hinata and Sasuke. At this point, Naruto would look at them and say that they need to make a plan, and he promises that if they can get the bells, both of them can take them. He'll stay behind. Hinata hearing this would nod and agree, and Sasuke would do so as well, seeing as he's gonna get to pass and leave Naruto behind. It's his lucky day or something. So Hinata would use her gentle fist attack on Kakashi's legs to make him go limp, as Sasuke would use a fireball to distract Kakashi, and then Naruto would use his light speed to take Kakashi's bells. After all this would happen, Naruto would think to himself that he didn't really need their help, and he would wonder why Kakashi even let their plan work. Naruto would be so confused and holding both bells in his hands, watching as Sasuke and Hinata walk closer and closer. Naruto would just think to himself that he really could just kill one of them and keep the bell for himself, but as he's pondering this thought, Kakashi would make his way towards them smiling as he would tell them that they all pass, leading to what's the arc called again? Oh yeah, right, the Land of the Waves arc. Now, editors know I'm going to read this for you guys just so you guys know what's up. I'm not going to cover the Land of the Waves due to it basically being the same, just quicker and easier. This may be the same with future arcs. The only change I can see is Hinata not just using kunai like Sakura. Alright, well I guess I'll cover it for you guys. Alright, so with everything that we've had established, I can pretty much get a similar, like a decent grasp on how this version of Naruto would react. Number one, I can see the first change being the fact that none of these cats are going to be giving Naruto a problem, and what I mean by that are the E rank missions that are pretty much given to them by the Kage. The next change, the Demon Brothers, when they attack them, that's going to be a walk in the park. I mean, come on now, dude. These guys weren't even close to light speed at the beginning of this arc. And Zabuza? Dude, Zabuza might straight up die during his first encounter against Kakashi, because remember, Kakashi is so much faster now because he's been having to contend with a light speed, like speed user this entire time. Like, you go figure that you eventually get a lot faster. So yeah, this dude is absolutely right when he says that he really doesn't need to cover this. This means that unfortunately for Sasuke, even if Haku was to step in and be like, "Oh, you're killing my master," like, you know, and try to like get in the way, Naruto, knowing the fact that Anbu ninjas do their job and right then and there, would not let Haku get away, saying, "Why don't you perform your duty right here?" And Haku, sweating underneath his mask, would essentially prepare to fight against Naruto. But Naruto speed blitzing in front of Haku would hold his wrist as he would break it in an instant, telling Haku that unless he tells him who he's working with, he's gonna die and Zabuza is gonna share that same fate, telling Haku that he'll finish the job. As Haku, hearing this, would not exactly know what to do, realizing how greatly strong this script shrinketh, would actually go on to like explain that he's working with Zabuza and that they were hired by Gato. As it'd be at this point that Naruto, hearing all this, would tell Haku that he could go ahead and tell his little friend of his that unless he wants to die, he'll stay out of their way. As Haku would nod, pretty much just disappearing with Zabuza, because I just don't see Haku being the type of character to be like, "I'm gonna risk it all and try to play hero." No, Haku's whole goal is to keep Zabuza alive and be his weapon and do what he needs in order to survive. Haku is running away and essentially telling Gato that they quit that mission. I can see Zabuza getting pissed off at Haku from that, but with Haku explaining just how strong that kid was, and Haku saying that the real threat wasn't even Kakashi the copy ninja, but that kid, Zabuza would be stunned, saying, "No, you can't be serious." And you would essentially just get Zabuza and Haku quitting on the mission before they die. So that said, eventually Gato and his men would pull up to the village saying that they were a huge waste of money, hiring some other ninjas that are also going to be a huge waste of money, as Naruto, seeing all of these people here and not having access to the multi-shadow clone jutsu, mind you, just due to the fact that Naruto never stole the scroll, so he would never learn the hand signs for any of these things or anything like that, but he doesn't even need that. Naruto's light speed and the fact that Naruto hasn't had a good killing spree in a long time would not need something like that. You would pretty much just see what Minato used to do back in his days in the third, or was it the third or second Great Shinobi War, where Minato would essentially throw a bunch of kunai into the battlefield and people would begin dropping like flies. Head would get cut off, throats would get slashed, and you get the point. That's what ends up happening to all of these members. And as Naruto's doing this, Apollo in the sky would essentially watch Naruto with a huge grin on his face, thinking that this boy is growing exceptionally well. And so you would see Naruto step forward to Gato as he would tell him to never mess with this village again, and he'll let him go. Gato would nod, saying, "Yeah, you got it. I'll never do it again. I swear. In fact, you could have the boat. You could have all the money." And Naruto would smirk as he would say, "I don't need it." As he would then kill Gato, throwing him into the water as his body would go limp, and Naruto would have essentially just karate chopped Gato at the back of his neck, breaking his spinal cord, which would have essentially left Gato paralyzed and not let him swim. So he would have drowned to death slowly, with him essentially like screaming, which is the only thing he could do, and Naruto would smirk. As Naruto turns back to the team, with Kakashi essentially understanding why Naruto did it and knowing that that is Naruto's nature at the end of the day, knowing that at one point he was just like that. Sasuke seeing that would almost see Itachi and Naruto in the way that Naruto was able to kill all those people without feeling a single thing. And Hinata, her resolve for believing Neji and how Naruto's just not a good person would strengthen. As after this would take place, we would essentially get the time for the Chunin exams to finally come around. We would jump forward straight to the battle between Naruto and Rock Lee, because in this timeline, Rock Lee's going to be challenging Naruto instead of Sasuke. So the battle would begin, and Naruto would start everything off by blitzing Lee and slamming a front kick into Lee's stomach, which Lee just couldn't even keep up with. He'd be stunned by the level of speed that Naruto just portrayed, and Neji, having been there to actually witness this whole thing, would simply give a look to Hinata, like just nodding at her, as she would look at him and timidly just be like, "Right." And you'd pretty much just see Lee beginning to get up as he would consider using the gates, but before Lee could even fully recover from that kick, Might Guy would end up arriving, stopping the fight, as we would now jump straight to the written test, which Naruto would cheat by just looking at people's sheets moving at light speed. So Naruto would end up leaving a double behind because he was moving that unbelievably fast, and that's how Naruto would cheat. As we would now jump to the Forest of Death section of the story. More specifically though, the Orochimaru encounter. During this encounter, things changed drastically because the moment that Orochimaru would make his presence known, Sakura and Hinata would both feel so much fear that they would completely be unable to move. But Naruto, feeling all this bloodlust, feeling the shiver go down his spine, Naruto would smile, and it would be a genuine maniacal laughter that would come off of Naruto. As Naruto, smirking, would proceed to reach into both of his pockets as he would grab two kunai and throw them towards the direction that he could sense Orochimaru coming from. Orochimaru rushing in would catch one of the kunais, and at that same time, Naruto would come blitzing in as he would hit Orochimaru right in the head with an elbow, which would be coming in at light speed, which Orochimaru would get hit by it and be sent crashing into one of the biggest trees in the area. He would go right through it, and then it would be discovered that Orochimaru would have ended up being shed out of. Orochimaru would have narrowly ended up dodging that attack. A multitude of snakes would come flying towards the direction of Naruto, and Naruto in this moment, waving his hand out, up all of his fingers would shoot out multiple light bullets, as all of these attacks would rush towards the direction of these snakes, and most of them would be eradicated, burnt in mid-air themselves, and the rest of them that wouldn't be Naruto would simply stare at them and impose his will, as light itself would emanate off of Naruto's body, burning the snakes that would have the displeasure of getting close enough. At this point, Naruto, using his full strength and speed, would blitz in towards the direction of Orochimaru, as he would sweep kick Orochimaru down below, as Orochimaru, creating a couple of clones of himself, would proceed to actually dodge out of the way, narrowly escaping Naruto, and it would become a game of cat and mouse, with Orochimaru realizing that while he might not be faster than Naruto, he's definitely smarter than Naruto. So this battle wouldn't be one of strength or speed, but it would be one of wits, because ultimately the writer wants me to make Orochimaru win this fight. So Orochimaru ends up ultimately clapping Naruto and giving him the curse mark. Now, in my personal opinion, with all the feats that Naruto has shown to this point, I don't really think that that's reasonable, but hey, the author gonna do what the author gonna do. Anyways, that being said, Naruto having the curse mark placed on him would actually have an interesting thing take place. Remember, in the beginning of the story, I said that marks won't stay on Naruto. So the curse mark, it's going to be absolutely destroyed by the heat coming off of Naruto's body. As Sasuke, being a good second choice, would end up having a curse mark placed on him as well. And Sasuke seeing this battle take place would have been absolutely terrified. Like, it's bad. Also, speaking of this fight, if this fight was actually animated and you just got to see like a really cool Naruto using these light speed attacks, I can see this turning into a straight up TikTok edits with like a little like a little, you know, like a TikTok edit song played, you know, like the edits going crazy, Naruto's punching Orochimaru, you know, you get like a scene of Orochimaru licking a knife or something like that, you know, at the end Orochimaru wins and like you just get a bunch of like Orochimaru, I don't know, it'd be kind of cool. Anyways, point is, after this would take place, the entire rest of the story would go exactly the same until we would get the battle between Naruto and Kiba. Now mind you, I am going to be saying that Naruto went unconscious during his time where the curse mark was placed on him, so Sasuke had his moment to shine, and then, you know, everything else took place just like in the original, because mind you, that's kind of, you know, editor note. Anyways, point being, the battle between Naruto and Kiba would take place just like in the original, and Naruto would literally just taunt Kiba the entire time. Have you guys ever had a friend of yours, like pretty much like you're trying to get in the car and they're driving backwards, like they're like, oh, get in, get in, like it's so annoying. But yeah, that's what Naruto would do to Kiba, but every time he tries to hit Naruto, Naruto's like, you gotta be faster than that, buddy, you know what I mean? Have you guys seen that video of like that really like fat guy who has no neck? He like rips a bag of chips out of someone's hand, he's like, you gotta be faster than that, buddy, and he just like starts eating them. Yeah, that's what Naruto's doing to him, except with a lot less ugly. Anyways, the point is, after this would end up taking place, Kiba would literally end up forfeiting because he's just annoyed that he can't hit Naruto, or Naruto would get bored and absolutely whoop Kiba with one fell swoop attack. I could see Naruto lunging up into the air and bringing down a light speed hammer kick on Kiba's head, but low key, I'm gonna let Kiba, you know, have a win for once and let him forfeit. That said, after this would take place, during the 1 month of training when Jiraiya would find him, instead of him teaching Naruto something useless, he teaches Naruto the basics of the Rasengan, and over the course of this entire month, Naruto polishes up his taijutsu and his ability of using the Rasengan, mastering it and also creating a different variant of it, the Light Rasengan, which essentially implements the normal Rasengan but enhances it with his light abilities, making it 10 times more potent. That said though, we would eventually get the battle between Neji and Naruto, as the fight would begin and Neji would speed blitz towards Neji, who would use the rotation technique to actually counter Naruto, who, seeing this happen, would smirk, thinking that he learned that technique. He would say it's interesting, as from this point, Naruto would wonder who would last longer, himself or Neji, as he would begin shooting finger pistol light attacks towards the direction of Neji, who would be spinning, trying to counter it. But the thing is, these attacks are hot, and Neji's hands are getting burned by the second. So Naruto, after finishing playing with Neji, would essentially end up throwing a light speed kick towards the direction of Neji, which would shoot a laser of light towards his direction, which would burn Neji's hands so bad that he couldn't even keep up. And he would look at Naruto and you would just see that Neji's hands are literally shooting off steam from how hot they've got. They have blisters and they're burned. Neji at this point would look towards the direction of Naruto, holding up his gentle fist style weakly, as Naruto, seeing this from this point, would blitz towards the direction of Neji and knee him right in his jaw with a knee speed kick, which would send him crashing onto the ground, as Naruto would proceed to stomp him and begin kicking on him as a sign of revenge. As he would look up towards the stand, staring at Hyuga before then walking off, and Hiyashi feeling absolutely disrespected by this. Naruto obviously would win the match, and during the battle between Sasuke and Gaara, basically everything ends up going the same, with the only difference being that Naruto this time would actually end up killing Gaara, with the One Tails now needing to regenerate just like the Ninetails does. After this would happen, we'd get the cleanup during the village, and after this takes place, we would essentially get usually the search for Tsunade arc. But in this specific timeline, Naruto's not going to be going with Jiraiya, because instead he's actually going to be training with Danzo for a bit, alongside Danzo's new student, Kaito, who has particle style, but we're gonna come back to him later. That's crazy. Bro really put my original character that we created during a stream a couple of days ago into the story. That's wild. Anyways, that said, I do need to cover one thing that happens in the script that I don't entirely agree with. The Akatsuki here is supposed to never come because Naruto doesn't have the Ninetails, but they wouldn't know that, right? They just wouldn't. Obito was unconscious after being defeated by Minato, and nobody would know that Naruto doesn't have the Ninetails because it's rumored that he does, and everybody believes that he does in this timeline. So we're going to be time skipping to the Sasuke retrieval arc, which is the next note, and I'm just going to be saying the Akatsuki does actually come, try to capture Naruto, but it just doesn't work because he can't find him because he's with Danzo in a weird location where they just have no access to. Yeah, let's just go with that. Anyways, yeah. Time skip, Sasuke retrieval arc. Everything goes the same until Naruto's fight with Kimimaro comes along, where Gaara this time doesn't actually end up coming because he's dead. And when Lee comes in to fight alongside him, he would tell Naruto to go, as he would end up using the 8th gate, killing himself. That's kind of crazy. And in the Valley of the End, Naruto versus Sasuke end up fighting. Okay, absolutely not. I just read the editor's note. In this fight, bro wants Sasuke to break Naruto's legs. That's not happening. Sasuke at this point in the story wasn't light speed. There's no attack that Sasuke even has in his arsenal that's going to be able to do this to this really cool version of Naruto that I've already grown so close with. Like, I love this version of Naruto. Yeah, that's absolutely not happening. But he does want Sasuke to leave the village for his story. So I have to make Sasuke leave the village somehow, which is just kind of like, how the heck do I even do that? You know what I mean? I'm going to have to do some crazy mental gymnastics just to like make this make sense. So, okay, he wants this to happen. So Naruto versus Sasuke fight. The battle would be completely one-sided in my opinion. I don't see a single section of this fight going in Sasuke's favor at all. He can't hit Naruto. There's nothing he can do to hit Naruto. It's just impossible. Sasuke doesn't have the know-how or experience to fight somebody that's this fast, or any attack in his arsenal, or the experience to be able to take on Naruto. So instead, let's say that Orochimaru himself alongside Kabuto would end up essentially arriving and catching Naruto off guard, having pretty much known that Naruto was going to be a huge risk to their plan. Orochimaru would be there because even though we know that he was, nah bro, I just can't do it. I'm over here trying to figure out how we could get Sasuke to leave the village and make it make sense. It doesn't make sense, no matter how I try to do it. So because the author wants Naruto to essentially let Sasuke leave the village, we're gonna just, he leaves the village. Why? Plot. Okay, plot. Okay, this is, you know, it is what it is. Anyways, during the 3-year time skip, the original author note is that because Sasuke ended up breaking Naruto's legs, he ended up taking a year to heal. So we're going to be scratching that and say that he spends a year in the village doing missions for Danzo secretly because he enjoys working for the Anbu, you know, going on killing sprees, yada yada yada, and he also enjoys hanging out with Kaido. We're also going to say that he's going to complete normal missions for Hiruzen and also just remain in the village training and doing as much as he can until inevitably he would want to leave the village to train. Danzo, however, not wanting to lose his most valuable soldier, would end up sending Kaito with him, as Naruto would stay under the partial control of Danzo, and Naruto would end up pretty much learning how to master Sage Mode and would get a bunch of cooler moves added to his arsenal, with Naruto even having access to a sword that Apollo would actually end up granting him in secret, giving it to him while he sleeps and just kind of setting it in Naruto's room. That said, Kaito would improve his particle style to insane new levels and would learn an imperfect Sage Mode. With that being the case, after their training journey would finally be over and Naruto and Kaito would grow closer as friends, they would return to report to Danzo everything that's happened. With Danzo learning of Naruto's new powers, he would consider him to be a growing threat every day, because the stronger that Naruto grows, the harder he's going to be to control. So Danzo, being the snake that he is, would end up ordering Kaito to eliminate Naruto on their next mission. That's crazy. And so, on their next mission, they are going to essentially have to capture the reformed One Tails. That's an interesting plot point. I like that. That being said, it would be a race against time, because not only does the Leaf want to capture it, but the Akatsuki does, and the Sand Village would as well. That said though, the Akatsuki would be the ones that ultimately end up capturing them, or it more specifically. But with that being said, since Kaito's mission is literally to kill Naruto, while they would be sleeping on their way of returning to the village, seeing as they're not just going to do this all in one day, Kaito would wait for Naruto to pass out, as he would suddenly use a particle style attack on Naruto, trying to obliterate him in one go, but Naruto would dodge this on pure instincts alone, as Naruto would draw his Sun Saber, and he would enter Sage Mode, with Kaito doing the exact same thing and entering his partial Sage Mode. As we would now get a battle between Kaito and Naruto. Two people have been sharing missions side by side over the course of these next years and getting to know each other over the course of the past 3 years. It would hurt Naruto to know that he has to fight his friend, but ultimately, Naruto would end up landing an attack with his blade on his new friend Kaito. And Naruto, knowing that this was all Danzo's doing, would cause Naruto to get royally pissed, because while he never fully trusted Naruto, he knew that Naruto was a benefit to him. But now, after this, Naruto knows that there's absolutely nothing that Danzo can offer. And this would also serve to do one more thing: to hurt Naruto in a way that he never thought he could be hurt. Naruto's starting to realize that anybody he ever lets close get into his life, or anybody that he starts to slightly consider a friend, always for some reason become evil and try to kill him. Take Sasuke for instance. Take Hiyashi, the dude, he trusted him, he thought of him as a father, and then he backstabbed him and threw him into the streets. Kaito, Danzo backstabbed him. So Naruto's trust is starting to be thrown completely out the window. So when Naruto would return to the village, Naruto doesn't even debrief Tsunade on anything that went down, arriving to the Root Anbu compound and simply killing Danzo over and over and over again, all thanks to the Izanagi that Danzo's able to use. That said, after this would take place, Naruto would end up getting the news of Asuma's death, and Naruto, realizing this, would understand that the Akatsuki are becoming a growing threat every single day. So Naruto would decide that the Akatsuki are no longer just a threat to everyone, but to him specifically. So Naruto would work on a more advanced version of his Light Rasengan, which is essentially a Rasengan that works similarly to a black hole, where it essentially sucks everything in like a black hole, but it scorches it, it just burns it, it eradicates it from existence because of the light that comes off of it. It's like a mini sun being hurled at you. It's absolutely insane. So Naruto would test this ability out with Kakuzu, who would die an even more painful but quicker death thanks to his newly found ability. And after this is said, the editor noticed essentially that there is no changes for the Itachi Hunt arc, which is kind of a good thing. Kind of cool, you know, saves me some time. But that said, Jiraiya would still end up dying. However, instead of training his Sage Mode, because he already has it, he ends up learning a brand new fighting style, which in this case is written speed punches, slaps, and more. Kind of strange, but alright. And so by the time that Pain ends up arriving to the village, Naruto would be there, sensing a huge amount of chakra building up in the sky, would simply smirk as in an instant you could see Naruto appearing in front of Pain as if he had just teleported. Light would have just appeared, and Naruto in one fell swoop, before Pain could even use his almighty push to send Naruto flying back, Naruto would slam the Light Rasengan into him, like literally just destroying every slither of the diva path that was left. He would absolutely destroy this path. As after this, he would do the same thing to the rest of them, obliterating them at light speed. As he would then find Nagato and Konan, and he would incinerate them to ashes. As Naruto would have returned to the village, expecting to see a village that was not harmed because he stopped it from happening altogether. However, Kurama would have been reborn, and he would be causing a rampage during the village. So Naruto, seeing this, would proceed to literally put the fox back to bed again. Kurama, seeing Naruto and realizing that that must be him but all grown up, would roar at him and attack at him, trying to kill Naruto, trying to stop him from, making him have to essentially die once more and go through that experience. But Naruto, because of the fact that he's aware that Kurama was just reborn, he doesn't exactly have every single bit of chakra that he had last time, so he's even weaker than before. And because Naruto's even more stronger than when he was an infant, Naruto would obliterate the Ninetails like it was nothing, just getting rid of it and thinking that he doesn't even need it, and nor does the village. Not as long as he's around. As after this happens, we would essentially end up getting that huge, 5 Kage summit which takes place. But in this timeline, Tsunade is actually the one to end up arriving there. And I can easily see Tsunade essentially taking Naruto with her, since he is the strongest ninja in the village, to essentially be her right-hand man. And so when the Raikage starts getting loud with Tsunade, I can easily see Tsunade start getting loud right back. And suddenly, you get the scene where Obito, the big bad, the leader of the Akatsuki himself, arrives and proceeds to essentially dare them to a fight. You would essentially get a scene in which Naruto and Kakashi, who are both the people who go with Tsunade for this mission, would see Obito, and Naruto, playing absolutely no games, would speed blitz towards the direction of Obito and punch him square in the face with a light speed punch, shattering his mask. As Kakashi, now seeing who it was and that it was Obito, would be absolutely stunned. After this would take place and Obito's shock would come to an end, you would essentially get Obito teleport into the Kamui dimension to disappear. But Kakashi, knowing that their dimensions are linked together, would use his own Kamui ability to teleport Naruto there. So if Obito tried getting out of Kamui, Kakashi was there to fight him. If Obito went into Kamui, Naruto was there to fight him. So Obito would essentially get hard negged by the combo of Kakashi and Naruto, who would quickly take out Obito, essentially stopping the entire 4th Great Shinobi World War arc, meaning there's no Madara, there's no Great Shinobi Alliance, and there's none of that taking place. Instead, we essentially get Obito being jumped by all 5 Kage and Naruto and Kakashi all at the same time. With this being the case, does Sasuke still even attack at this point? That's just one of those things that I'm just like, I don't know, because is Sasuke foolish enough to attack in a moment where he knows that Naruto's there? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see Sasuke being that stupid. So ultimately, with the threat of the Akatsuki being taken care of and the next threat to the story happening in Boruto, I think we can safely assume that that's where the story is going to be ending. Now, I will say, for the original version of the story, bro had a little bit of a different, ending that he wanted to go with, but I found it a little strange. So let me explain what happens. So, okay, after the Ninetails was reborn, the Akatsuki essentially would have ended up arriving, absorbing Kurama into the ghetto statue, creating Jubito in the village, which was kind of strange, all the while the pain attack was happening. And then we essentially get Naruto, who is really countered by Obito by his Kamui abilities, so Naruto's unable to touch him. Kakashi would end up pretty much, helping to assist. Madara comes in out of nowhere, taking the 10 tails from Obito. I'm not sure how that ends up happening because there's no real notes for that, but then in a flash, Madara dies. He gets reborn as Kaguya. Kaguruma doesn't appear because he's, in the original, the only reason that he appeared is because Naruto and Sasuke were working together to try to defeat Kaguya, yada yada yada. But in this specific time, he can't be proud of them, and they never forgave each other, okay? So they don't get their 6-path Sage Mode powers, and we essentially get Naruto turning to Sasuke and Hinata, which is the strangest thing, as he would end up telling them, "Thank you for being my family when I had none," which kind of weird because Sasuke left the village. They never made up. Hinata doesn't like him. They had absolutely no character development together. And then we pretty much get Naruto running at light speed to clear a plot of land and pretty much end up breaking Apollo's sword, summoning Apollo himself, as Naruto would demand all of his. When does Naruto even become aware of Apollo? That's why I ended up like changing the story, because the ending is cool in premise, but because I don't understand the full vision, because I got like all I have is the script, I had to kind of like freestyle and make it my own. But anyways, after this ends up happening, Naruto obviously ends up slapping Kaguya and essentially becoming the new sun god. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna be it for what if Naruto would have liked Kekkei Genkai, or what if Naruto had the, you know, the light fruit, Yamiya, the whatever, you get what I'm saying. This video was completely made once again by, here, I need to actually go back to the beginning just to read who actually ended up writing this. Give me a second. Oh, there's even a bunch of cool little like editing notes that other people left in the actual like thing itself. Oh, Emmett's already working on the thumbnail. That's hilarious. But yeah, no, the script itself was made by Zayat Roar. You can find his link down below in the description, like I said once again. And also remember, this script was made entirely by a fan. This was his first script, and I just have to say, for your first script, bro, this was insane. I loved a lot of the really cool aura farming moments that you gave him. I love the fact that the story felt like it was something that I wrote myself. It's really interesting. For the next time that I do this, I'm definitely gonna have to get into better contact with the writer and you know, fix a couple of things before I just instantly read the story for like the first 5 minutes and then just jump into it. But yeah, that has been it for me today. If you guys want to jump in and help out for the channel and make your own script and do something like this, that would literally help me so much. Like, obviously, this is something that's optional. You don't have to do this at all. You could just leave your idea a couple plot points and that is it. Call it a day. You don't have to script the whole thing, mind you. I'm saying that one more time. You don't have to. But dude, this was just so cool that I got to interpret one of you guys' what ifs, and I would love to do this again. Speaking of, I am going to do this again. It's going to be called What If Naruto Had a Return from Death, or Returned by Death, which is Subaru's abilities from, I think the anime is called Subaru or something like that. I don't know. The point is, that has been it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. I love each and every single one of you guys, and I am out. Peace.